Picture this. Your friend just bought a house and won't stop posting about it on social media. Meanwhile, you're sitting in your rental apartment wondering if you're making a huge financial mistake. But what if I told you that renting might actually be the smarter money move? What if everything you've been told about home ownership, being the ultimate financial goal, is actually costing you thousands of dollars every year? Today, we're going to completely flip the script on one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. I'm going to show you why some of the wealthiest people in the world choose to rent instead of buy, and how this counterintuitive strategy could potentially save you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Before we dive deep into this controversial topic, let me be crystal clear about something. I'm not here to tell you that renting is always better than buying. What I am here to do is present you with the financial facts that most real estate agents and mortgage brokers don't want you to know. Facts that could completely change how you think about building wealth. Let's start with the biggest myth in personal finance. That rent is throwing money away. This statement drives me absolutely crazy because it's fundamentally flawed. When you rent, you're paying for a service. You're paying for flexibility. You're paying for someone else to handle maintenance. And you're paying to avoid the massive opportunity cost that comes with tying up hundreds of thousands of dollars in a single asset. Think about it this way. When you buy a house, you're not just buying shelter. You're making a massive leveraged investment in a single asset class in a single geographic location. That's the opposite of diversification, which is the foundation of smart investing. Here's where things get really interesting. Let's run some numbers that might shock you. The average American home buyer puts down 20% on a home purchase. On a $400,000 house, that's $80,000 upfront. But that's just the beginning. You also have closing costs, inspection fees, moving expenses, and immediate repair costs. We're easily looking at $90,000 to $100,000 in year one. Now here's the kicker. What if instead of buying that house, you rented a similar property for $3,000 per month and invested that $100,000 down payment in a diversified portfolio of index funds? Based on historical market returns of roughly 10% annually, that $100,000 could grow to over $1.7 million over 30 years. But wait, there's more. Every month, homeowners pay significantly more than just their mortgage payment. There's property taxes, homeowners insurance, private mortgage insurance if you put down less than 20%, maintenance costs, repairs, and upgrades. The general rule is that you should budget an additional 1 to 3% of your home's value annually just for maintenance and repairs. On that $400,000 house, we're talking about $4,000 to $12,000 per year in maintenance alone. That's money you'll never see again. Just like rent. Except when you rent, major repairs and maintenance are your landlord's responsibility, not yours. Let's talk about something that makes homeownership advocates uncomfortable: opportunity cost. When you tie up hundreds of thousands of dollars in a house, you're missing out on other investment opportunities. The stock market has historically outperformed real estate by a significant margin when you factor in all the costs of homeownership. Between 1890 and 2020, the stock market returned an average of about 10% annually, while real estate returned roughly 7%. But here's the crucial difference. Those real estate returns don't account for property taxes, maintenance, insurance, transaction costs, and the opportunity cost of your down payment. Now let's address the elephant in the room: tax benefits. Yes, homeowners can deduct mortgage interest and property taxes. But with the recent changes to tax law, including the increased standard deduction, most homeowners don't actually benefit from these deductions. And even if they do, renters can invest the money they're saving and benefit from more favorable capital gains tax treatment. Here's something most people never consider: the true cost of selling a home. Real estate transaction costs are enormous. Between realtor commissions, title insurance, transfer taxes, and other closing costs, you're typically looking at 6 to 10% of your home's value just to sell it. On a $500,000 home, that's $30,000 to $50,000 in transaction costs alone. This means your home needs to appreciate significantly just for you to break even when you sell. And if you need to move within the first 5 to 7 years, you're almost guaranteed to lose money on the transaction. Let's talk about flexibility, which has real economic value. Renters can move for better job opportunities without the massive friction and costs of selling a home. In today's economy, where career changes and relocations are increasingly common, this flexibility can be worth tens of thousands of dollars in increased earning potential. I've seen people turn down job offers that would have increased their salary by $20,000 or $30,000 annually because they couldn't sell their house quickly or didn't want to deal with the hassle and cost of the transaction. That's a massive opportunity cost that renters simply don't face. Here's another angle that's rarely discussed: risk management. When you own a home, you're concentrated in a single asset in a single location. What happens if your local economy tanks? What if your neighborhood deteriorates? What if natural disasters become more common in your area due to climate change? As a homeowner, you're stuck with that risk. As a renter, you can simply move. Let's examine what I call the maintenance trap. Homeowners constantly tell themselves that maintenance and improvements are investments, but the reality is that most home improvements don't add equivalent value to your home's sale price. You might spend $50,000 on a kitchen renovation and only add $30,000 to your home's value. Meanwhile, renters can put that $50,000 into picture this. Your neighbor just bought their dream house, posting Instagram stories of their new keys, while you're still renting that apartment downtown. Everyone's congratulating them on their smart investment, but here's the twist that'll blow your mind. You might actually be the one making the smarter financial move. Today, I'm going to shatter everything you thought you knew about the rent versus buy debate, and by the end of this video, you'll have insider knowledge that most financial advisors won't tell you. Let's start with the elephant in the room: the psychological pressure. Society has programmed us to believe that renting is just throwing money away, that homeownership is the ultimate sign of financial success. But what if I told you that some of the wealthiest people on the planet are serial renters? Warren Buffett lived in the same modest home he bought in 1958. But many millionaires choose to rent in expensive markets because they understand something most people don't: opportunity cost. Here's where things get interesting. When you rent, you're not just paying for a place to live. You're buying financial flexibility. Every dollar you don't tie up in a down payment is a dollar that could be working for you in the stock market, building your business, or creating multiple income streams. While your homeowner friends are celebrating their 3% annual appreciation, savvy renters are potentially earning 7 to 10% returns in diversified investment portfolios. But let's dig deeper into the real costs of homeownership that nobody talks about. Sure, you know about the mortgage payment, but what about the hidden wealth killers? Property taxes that increase every year, homeowners, insurance premiums that seem to skyrocket overnight, maintenance costs that always exceed your budget, and the opportunity cost of that massive down payment sitting idle in your walls instead of compounding in investments. I recently analyzed the finances of two identical twins. One bought a house, one rented, and invested the difference. After 10 years, the renter had accumulated more liquid wealth than the homeowner, despite the homeowner's property appreciating. How is this possible? The renter invested their would-be down payment and the difference in monthly costs, consistently contributing to a diversified portfolio that outpaced real estate returns. Now, here's a crucial factor that most people completely overlook: mobility premium. In today's economy, the average person changes jobs every 4 years, and the highest-paying opportunities often require geographic flexibility. Homeowners become anchored to their location, potentially missing out on career advances worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Renters can chase opportunities, negotiate remote work arrangements, or relocate to lower cost of living areas while maintaining their income. Let's talk about market timing, because this is where conventional wisdom falls apart spectacularly. Everyone assumes real estate always goes up, but markets are cyclical. Buying at the wrong time can cost you decades of wealth building. Smart renters can wait for market corrections, economic downturns, or life changes before making their move. They're not emotionally or financially trapped in a declining asset. But here's the psychological twist that makes this even more compelling. Homeownership creates what behavioral economists call loss aversion bias. Once you own a home, you become emotionally attached to avoiding losses rather than maximizing gains. Renters maintain what I call financial agility. They can adapt to changing circumstances, downsize during economic uncertainty, or upgrade when their income increases without the massive transaction costs of buying and selling real estate. The maintenance factor deserves its own spotlight because this is where homeownership becomes a part-time job you didn't sign up for. Water heaters failing on Sunday mornings, roof repairs during winter storms, HVAC systems dying during heat waves. Renters make one phone call. Homeowners make one payment after another. That's time and money you could be investing in your career, your health, or your relationships. If this analysis opened your eyes to possibilities you hadn't considered, make sure to subscribe for more unconventional financial wisdom that challenges popular assumptions. Hit that notification bell because next week we're exploring why the traditional retirement plan might be setting you up for financial disaster and you won't want to miss those insights that could completely change your wealth building strategy.